We move to the last of the open speeches, Jamie Green.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. May I take this opportunity to congratulate Maurice Corey on bringing this debate to this chamber. It's a great pleasure to take part in it, and also to welcome those visitors to the chamber today as well. Earlier this month, I had the great pleasure of attending a Armistice Day service at the Erskine Home in Bishopton, along with Derek Mackay, MSP. We joined them as they took part in a service outside in the garden at the memorial stone in the public area of the home. It was one of those fortunate days where the sun was shining. It was very cold and bitterly windy, but the sun was out, and it was such a beautiful day to share that experience with them. We were joined there by local residents of that home and also their friends and family. And I have to say, it was my first experience of taking part in an Armistice Day or Remembrance Day event since my election. And it was one of those unique opportunities where I had a chance to participate in the wreath-laying process and just join them in that. But I think what struck me most was actually chatting to the residents of the home after the formal proceedings. And afterwards, I was sitting next to a chap called Jack Mackay, and I hope Jack isn't too worried that I talk about him in the chamber. He's 98 years of age, and he's from Paisley. He was in the Argyll and Sutherland Highlanders Regiment. And he was really excited, not just about the ceremony that we took part in. He was very excited about getting his dram afterwards. And he absolutely insisted that I join him for a dram. I had to explain, or try to explain my car. I hope you're not here today, Jack, because my car was outside. And I will admit that I didn't drink the whiskey that I had in my glass, but I pretended to as best I could. On the way out, however, the real experience which struck me about that day the most was as I was walking back to my car, just pondering over what I'd taken part in, and actually feeling the immense pride of being able to participate in that event. I met another resident, Mr. Peter Knowles. Peter is 89 and is another veteran, and he had laid a wreath just a few moments before. He was dressed in his finest tweed jacket and a pair of tartan trews that I would only aspire to. And I bumped into him on my way back to the car, and he stopped me and he said, "Young man," which was a great pleasure in itself. But he said, "Young man, I want to tell you something. I want to share my story with you." And he did. And we stood there for 20-25 minutes while he shared his life story. And I have to say, there were tears in my eyes. I walked back to my car, and he said to me, "Let me tell you the greatest lesson that I can give you as an old man nearing the end of his life." He said, "Life is all about people. And what I have here in this home are the people around me." And, I struggled to keep it together, Presiding Officer, but I have to say that memory is stuck with me. Over that weekend, I went to further events, a couple in Greenock, where the weather was less kind to us. It seemed like the heavens were weeping as well that day. But that whole weekend really struck me as to the importance that these events have to us, that we're not just commemorating, we're not just wearing poppies for the sake of it, but we actually remember our veterans. I should add, just as I'm short on time, that veterans aren't just people in their elder years. Veterans are young men and women as well who have served. I think it's very important that in this debate we acknowledge that veterans come in all shapes and sizes and ages, and that it's our duty as political parties and as parliamentarians to ensure that they're adequately looked after through health, housing and also employment opportunities. And I'd like to see if we can work with the government on any opportunities to ensure that veterans are helped in Scotland. I'll close finally by just thanking my colleague for bringing this debate to the Chamber. It's a great privilege to be part of it. I really hope I'll spend more time in the Erskine home, meeting more residents and hearing more of their fantastic, inspiring stories over the course of my next few years as an MSP in the West Region. So thank you, and I wish them very well.